Why oh why is it that when we tell these gamers that they're all bigoted scum that deserve to be purged from the industry, when we go after people's jobs in the shadows, when we threaten the families of the people we hate, why don't they buy our games? It is such a mystery that after a decade of activist journalists harassing and attacking gamers and developers, patience is gone. Ubisoft's Prince of Persia the Lost Crown came out at the start of the year, and was well received by both gamers and journalists. So it's a failure. Studio has shut down. How did this happen though? It didn't slip under the radar. It didn't have major backlash. The worst was the protagonist not being the prince. Major characters being changed or replaced gets more irritating every time it happens, yet that had so little coverage I don't think most people even knew. So why? Why would a solid game in a nostalgic style, with good overall coverage and no considerable signs of agenda behind it, fail so badly its studio doesn't even last a year? Tales of Kenzera Zau may be in the same boat. A regular centerpiece in controversy all year long, unlike Lost Crown, it was poorly received by its small player base, and it met a Concord level of failure. Yet, for an indie game, it had so much PR, over 100 critic reviews. Even if you were to blame toxic gamers for not touching it, why did it fail with the woke side that was fully in this game's corner on social media? It is all about reputation. Reputation can kill a game before it starts. Imagine your favorite pub, Ubisoft Wings, let's call it. For decades you have been getting Ubby Wings. You know they're low quality, but gosh darn those wings are just tasty and so easy to consume. Yet, just a few years ago, Ubby Wings was like, hey, our current chefs and customers need to be replaced because we really just hate them now. After a while, you have a bad batch of wings and get sick. You start to notice a smell to them. Some of them are burnt. Some of them end up being raw. You bring this up to management, who let you know that these wings aren't made for people like you. Maybe if you weren't subhuman garbage, you'd like them. So you decide it's time to finally move on from Ubby Wings and find somewhere else to eat. Then this year, you discover that there's a group of people, let's call them sour toddlers. And these toddlers were working with Ubby when they decided to replace their staff, change their recipe, become hostile to the fans, and they were also working closely with all the food critics that used to hate Ubby Wings when Ubby Wings was good, or at least better, but suddenly have become the Ubby Wings' biggest fan club. At the same time, Ubby has become very hostile towards its old, problematic audience. And those toddlers are making a big deal about how Lost Crown wings are the best dish of the year, and have also been singing the praises of another restaurant which serves a dish called the Tales of Kenzera Zau. Ubisoft tanked the rep with microtransactions, deluxe edition tiers, NFTs, being the most aggressive pushers of woke ideology for a very long time, and with the cherry on top of allowing predators to flourish in their workplace. When people see Lost Crown, they see Ubisoft. Ubisoft also has the rep of birthing many consultant corporations plaguing the industry today. At some point, gamers just do not want to give them any more chances. Kenzera Zau decided to be judged on things other than being a game. They worked with SBI. Their leadership was even part of Sweet Baby Inc. They acted like SBI. They demonized gamers, were hostile to potential customers. They valued starting a fight against the audience and earned itself the loyal devotion of the activists and journalists, who did not buy the game and make it a success, but at least they praised the game on Twitter. Gamers have options. They have options to buy indie games from developers who are openly happy when people buy their games. Developers who take feedback and criticism and try to make their next game better, who don't call the audience toxic or worse, or otherwise try to pick a fight with them. Zau Development and their activist allies were in a fight with anti-woke content creators. But just take a step back and think about what your goal is as a game studio. Whatever you think about these exchanges, whatever side you are on, if you have made a game because you want to fight content creators, you did get what you wanted. If, however, you were making a game to have gamers play it, if you wanted to sell a product so your studio could keep their jobs, if you wanted many people to experience your game's message, you failed. And you failed because you brought the reputation of a group called Sweet Baby Inc. into your game making. The reputation of a corporation that spends its time harassing and insulting gamers, going after their families, trying to get them fired from jobs. You joined forces with a company that this year decided to try and silence and take away the entire games libraries of anyone who disagreed with your social politics. Instead of thinking about how you can start a fight and who you can start it with, who you can virtue to, and how to push ideology, if you actually want to make a successful game, instead, maybe start thinking about what audience you want and how to keep them happy. The patience for being called toxic bigots is completely gone. Gamers are not going to be guilted into playing your game. Gamers have better choices. If you side with consultants like SBI or have the reputation of Ubisoft, you have taken actions that have eroded the trust of people. The one thing that did not cause your games to fail is content creators talking about you. Your current predicament is a situation entirely of your own making. Now, you can play the victim and try to pass the blame, or you can learn from your mistakes and change as a person and as a studio. The choice, ultimately, is yours. But your success or failure is not the fault of people on YouTube, of toxic gamers, of anyone else. Just you. You are in a position of extreme privilege and power. You have the benefit of wealth, corporate backing, and a public spotlight that puts you in the 1% of the 1%. If you want to botch this incredible opportunity because you hate gamers, that is on you and only on you. But wait, there's more. Now that their game has flopped, their entire team is on standby or laid off, they have made friends with the journalists and enemies with everyone else, they want funding for a second game. Remember what I said about privilege. They are in a situation where after an absolute failure, they think they can now get grants from banks, loans from ESG lending firms, and millions from governments forcing you to fund these games against your will. And the reality is, they might get it because of privilege. And if you are thinking that is not privilege, go ahead. Go ask for funding right now. And let me know how much money you get to fund your game idea in the comments below. Oh, you say, but I do not have experience in making games, so of course nobody would lend to me. Well, keep this in mind. At this moment, every person watching this video is more profitable in the gaming industry than this studio.